What would you do if you were having a fun ride and crashed into a police car? Imagine the thrill of racing down the road only to crash head-on into a police car. It happened, and it's all captured on a Dashcam camera. How did it escalate so quickly? Let's find out. It all started with a familiar but dangerous combination: fast cars, risky driving, and a driver who completely underestimated the consequences of their actions. In this particular case, the driver was behind the wheel of a Mustang, a car famous for its power and speed. Mustang drivers are often known for pushing the limits, but as exciting as that power can be, it comes with huge responsibility. The open road presents many risks, and the faster you go, the quicker those risks become deadly. In this incident, the driver took things to the extreme, speeding through traffic and ignoring basic road rules. They believed that they had everything under control, but that confidence quickly turned into recklessness. It wasn't long before things spiraled out of control. What made this crash particularly shocking was the nature of the accident. It wasn't just a fender bender or a scrape in a parking lot. The Mustang collided directly with a police car. Yes, a head-on crash with a cop car. The police weren't just sitting idly on the side of the road. They were actively on duty, ensuring public safety. The Mustang came barreling down toward them, and there was no time to avoid the collision. What do you think happened next? A brutal and devastating impact. Luckily, this intense moment was caught on camera from the police car's dashboard. The footage is as dramatic as it sounds. It shows the Mustang speeding straight into the vehicle with no room for anyone to react. The sound of the crash alone is enough to send chills down your spine. Both vehicles were left severely damaged, but what followed was even more significant. Now, you might be wondering, how did this all happen? Was the Mustang driver just not paying attention, or was something more going on? Based on the footage and witness reports, it's clear that this was more than just a simple mistake. The driver had been weaving through traffic at high speeds, showing total disregard for the safety of others. It's almost as if they were tempting fate, and fate responded in the worst possible way. When the crash happened, everything changed in an instant. Law enforcement did not waste any time. They sprang into action immediately, doing what they're trained to do in these kinds of emergencies. As soon as the Mustang slammed into the police car, the situation was critical, and they knew they had to move fast. First responders, including police backup, firefighters, and paramedics, were on the scene almost immediately. Their first priority was to assess the damage and check if anyone was seriously hurt. Think about what those first moments must have been like for the driver of the Mustang. 1 minute, they are recklessly speeding down the road, probably thinking that they were in control. And the next, they find themselves in a head-on collision with a police car. It's safe to assume the driver was not just physically shaken, but emotionally rattled as well. The thrill of the joyride was over, replaced by the harsh reality of the damage caused. The driver's actions had real consequences, and now they had to face them. The Mustang was a mess, no doubt about that. After a crash like this, the front of the car was probably crumpled, smoke rising from the wreckage, and airbags deployed. It's a terrifying moment for any driver, but especially for someone who knows they were in the wrong. The immediate questions are, is anyone hurt, and how bad is the damage? First responders had to quickly assess whether the driver was injured and needed immediate medical attention. It's standard procedure, but it's also a race against time. In crashes like this, every second matters. Now consider the police officer in the other car. They were out there, just doing their job, likely patrolling the area or responding to another call, when out of nowhere, this Mustang comes crashing into them, head on. For the officer, the shock must have been overwhelming. They weren't just any driver in a random car. They were in a police car, out there to protect the public, and suddenly they became the victim of a reckless driver. It's a reminder of the risks police officers face every single day. Being an officer of the law means constantly being exposed to dangerous situations. But no one expects to be hit like this while on duty. 1 second, the officer was likely focused on their task, and the next, they were dealing with the aftermath of a severe crash. For the officer, there's not just the physical impact of the crash, but also the mental shock of the situation. In their line of work, they're trained for emergencies, but being involved in the accident like this brings home just how vulnerable anyone can be on the road. When the Mustang crashed into a police car, first responders acted quickly, assessing damage and injuries. The driver, shocked by the consequences of reckless driving, faced severe legal charges, while the officer experienced both physical and emotional impact. This incident highlights the dangers of reckless driving and the responsibility drivers have to keep the roads safe. This crash wasn't just about one bad decision, it was about a series of reckless actions that led to a disaster. The driver's careless behavior didn't just affect them, it impacted the police officer, the emergency responders, and everyone else who had to deal with the aftermath. And the driver was no longer in control. Law enforcement would now take over, ensuring justice was served. The aftermath of the crash was severe. Both vehicles were completely totaled. The Mustang, designed for speed, wasn't meant to withstand an impact like this. The front end of the car was crumpled beyond repair. The police car, despite being built for durability, was no match for the force of the collision either. Its front was equally mangled, showing just how destructive the crash had been. But the damage to the cars was only part of the story. The Mustang driver faced severe legal consequences for their actions. Crashing into another car is bad enough, but when that car belongs to law enforcement, things get much worse. The driver was charged with reckless driving and endangering lives on the road. These charges can come with hefty fines, potential jail time, and a criminal record. Law enforcement doesn't take kindly to reckless drivers, especially when their own officers are involved. So, what makes a driver so reckless in the first place? Was it the thrill of the speed, the adrenaline rush of pushing a powerful car to its limits? Or maybe it was just overconfidence, a belief that nothing bad could happen. Whatever the reason, one thing is clear: the driver wasn't in control of the situation at all. When handling a high-powered vehicle like a Mustang, the driver has to respect the power. The moment you lose that control, things can turn disastrous very quickly. As for the police officer involved in the crash, they were incredibly fortunate. If the story made you think twice about speeding, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more real-life lessons about the dangers of reckless driving. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think should happen to the drivers who put others at risk like this. Stay tuned for more such stories.